Didn't save your stuff. That's all right. Let me see.
It didn't, or I didn't?
It's me. It's my fault. I'm fixing it right now. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show, everybody. Matt Spear from the Don't Unfriend Me Show. It's good to have everyone here. Leeroy is in the house, and oh man, does he look great. We are trying something a little bit new. You may notice he will sound a ton clearer. That's the first thing. The second thing is that he will look better than he's ever looked. We are going through a new feature through Zoom, which increases the quality of the imagery and allows Leeroy and I to talk at the same time without breaking up and us pausing because we don't know what each other are saying. Like if he says right now and says the word right, I'm going to be able to go ahead and continue to talk. Oh, wow, it didn't break up. Isn't that
See,
nice?
Look at that. It's amazing.
And he sounds
It's
clear.
astounding.
It is. And it sounds like we're in the same room. So we
Get
decided
on the bandwagon.
that is
Hype
correct.
the shit right out of your house.
Do you see how I paused like right when he talked and I didn't talk over him? So it's so much. See, I know it's instantaneous. It's like he's in the room with me. So I know now, and it's going to make the show that much better because we like to chime in on each other's stuff. But what's frustrating is that there's a delay. And then when you talk, it just slows the process down. This is going to be much faster. And we're pretty excited about it. Leeroy and I are going to take you into the late evening hour. The abyss, the abysmal, the Laurentine abyssal. Yes. Laurentine abyssal.
Loretin?
No, Laurentine.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. We'll see you soon. Be right back. Hey, Leeroy, go ahead and type in a message in chat.
Do you want the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news.
It works.
Just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the.
So to give everyone a heads up, I don't know if you can see the chat, Leeroy. Can you actually click chat and see everyone chatting right now?
I can't see everyone else chatting, but I can see that what I just typed in went up on the screen.
Fair enough. I'm going to try to fix that. But now Leeroy can actually make a comment in chat. So if I'm saying something, he can now type. This is a feature they have never had before. So if you guys want to ask Leeroy a question, he can also respond. But if I'm saying something and he's like, you know what, I want to add some info, he can now do that directly to the show. It's kind of a cool feature. Let's go. Yeah, did you have something else? Nope. Okay.
Agree or disagree. Stop arguing me. 'Cause I'm everything you want. Damn, so what you need. I won't tell no lies. Back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's stuff.
Step into a weekend.
What's up, everybody? It's Ryan Weaver. I am on the Don't Unfriend Me Show, otherwise known as The DUM Show, with host Matt Spear. You guys can find the show at The DUM Show on social media or thedumshow.com.
Adjusting transmitter output. This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leeroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Leeroy, Matt in the house. So I got to figure out why your background green screen isn't switching. Feedback that I can send in to the guys over at
Zoom.
Yeah, whatever. Sorry, did I say that? So yeah, it should save automatically. It's not, but we'll figure it out. I mean, if that's the worst that it gets. Now you're unable to see the chat of everybody, but you aren't able to see that anyway.
Well, actually, what I did is I brought up the show on my Facebook page, and so now I have both screens sitting right next to each other, so I can see what I type in as well as what everyone else is. So I'm good.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is that your video is in 720p now. It's the difference. In Ecamm, it's 1080p, and in order to get 1080, I've got to pay $2,500 a month on Zoom, and that's
insane.
not going to be happening. I'm going to reach out to Zoom because I know that they make accommodations. Say, listen, this is for my show, and I'd appreciate it if you guys would give us 1080p. I'll pay an extra fee, but I want to see how Amy's looks. Honestly, your camera looks pretty damn good. I'm not going to complain about it, and I think everybody else will agree. And when we get you your new setup, we'll figure it out. But I want to see what Amy's looks like, you know?
Oh, hers is going to look 10 times better.
Yeah, I know
I
that.
need all of the filters and the touch up and the makeup if I can get away with it. I need all of that.
It looks good, buddy. I'm just going to say it looks really good. So a couple new features for the show is we have Zoom now, which is a nice feature. So we still do Skype, understand that. We are 100% available for Skype. But if anybody wants to come into the show, we can actually bring in 100 people to the show, which is a huge feature. So if somebody wants to come on and be on video, they can do that. And it's not going to cost us a lot of additional money. So that's a really cool feature. And then that's about it. Nothing else really huge. Hope everyone's doing well. Darren says hello. What is going on? Carrie's in the house. Everybody's in the house. So I'm glad if you have anything that you can see, man, question wise, hit it, and you can now address it and throw it in chat, and then I'll bounce it over to everyone else. Okay.
Yeah. I think this is going to work.
I think it's going to work. I want to get 1080p, or I want to see what Amy's camera looks like, and if Amy's camera looks stupendous, then I send you my additional camera, and you're good to go. And then when the boy moves out, you'll be set.
Sounds good.
You can
Sounds
set all your
good.
stuff up. All right, man. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Syria first. I want to get some of your opinions on this, obviously, and then I've kind of written a little bit down because a lot of people are asking, what does this mean? And I want to make sure that we give them the best information possible. So I kind of just wrote a little, oh, this is going to suck. Okay, let me see. Is this saving? Okay, yeah, that's good. I just need to program this on each scene, which is really easy. And then we'll never have to do it again. Never. All right, hold on. Let me just do Leeroy and put in your background and hit bam, and you're done. Okay, so Syria, folks, want people to know. Syria. Yeah, there's a lot going on. I'm going to walk you through it, and Leeroy's going to walk you through it. And oh, by the way, another new feature is that we have I got a prototype for Safari, so it blackens my screen, so it makes everything dark, so it's not going to be bright anymore and obnoxious and blowing out the show, and a little bit easier to see when we do maps and stuff like this. So anyway, Leeroy, give us the breakdown.
Sure.
J-Dog says your show was deleted on YouTube for some reason. What do you mean? I'm not going to even. No, don't worry about it. Go ahead, though.
Sure. Okay. So Bashar al-Assad was the former dictator of Syria, and he was an excuse me, optometrist turned dictator at one point. And this is the guy that not 8 years ago, NATO had claimed that he was using chemical weapons on some of his own people, chlorine bombs, I think was the big one that was in the news. And they were literally just barrels of chlorine that he would rig an explosive to and then drop them on his own people, women, children. He didn't care. And, so you're already dealing with a pretty bad, juju. This is the kind of Hitler-esque kind of criticisms that the left loves to throw at the right, right? Like, so you guys are dictators then, right? This is that, but 10 times worse. This is on par with like Mao Zedong and Stalin. Now, a couple of days ago, an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, and I can't remember the current name that they're going by, basically toppled the Assad regime. Now, why would that have happened? Prior, they were getting all of the help in the world from Russia. Well, these days, Russia has their hands full. They're trying to fight off, now they're bringing in North Koreans to help fight their war. So they're a little bit stretched thin, and they're not able to do the things that they once were able to do, which is partly why the Assad regime fell. So you can say, yes, that's a good thing that this guy is really out of the picture. But is it? Is this just simply a power vacuum that has been left in Syria, and now, a former defunct terrorist group has taken over? We're substituting one evil for another. This is not good news. That's all I have so far.
Yeah. The FSA is, I think, the group you're looking for. The Free Syrian Army.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's several other groups that are involved, but there's not much. It's always interesting. I always like to have Leeroy go first on stuff like this, because then I compare my notes and go, did I touch on the same things that he did, and is it correct?
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and that makes me feel better, because if I'm wrong, I want to know it right away. And the second thing is to have that validation is a good thing. So it's amazing. We're going to kind of start off on the exact same thing. This isn't that long, but it is a brief, and this essentially would be a brief that would if you're in a full detailed briefing, and you're going over the last 24 hours and like Gold Watch or Blue Watch or whatever it would be, and you're coming off shift, this would not be the brief you were doing. This would be way too long. But this is when your lieutenant comes up to you and says, give me a 2.5 minute recap of where we are from potential situations in this geopolitical area. This is what you would do. Okay, so the fall of Bashar al-Assad, president of Syria. I didn't have that he was a dentist. Was he a dentist or an optometrist? What was he again? A dentist?
He was a defunct optometrist.
An ophthalmologist, an optometrist. So a difference between an optometrist.
Ophthalmologist. That makes sense.
Well, no, an optometrist is one who can write prescription. An ophthalmologist is the one who can't. Isn't that just like psychiatrist and psychologist? Hi. How are you?
Maybe.
Did you have a good day? Yeah. All right. I love you. Are you going? Coming? What are you doing? You just got here.
I just got home.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just got
And we're going to do our...
Yeah, I only have one script because Miss Regina did.
We'll make it work. Do you want to do that tonight, or you want to do that tomorrow? What do you want to do?
Tonight,
Let's do it. We'll study your lines tonight. I love you. Sorry, daughter just got home. I got to help her with her. She's doing It's a Wonderful Life at school, and she got... hey, honey, who did you get? Violet. So she's the... Is it Violet?
Nice.
Okay, I have young Violet.
It's okay. Just Violet.
Young Violet, Big,
Okay.
Mr. Welsh,
Okay.
and Rose Bailey.
All right. So she got Violet, essentially Rose Bailey, and a couple of other ones, and they're doing a radio show. So they're going to do it in the old, sitting around a table, and play it for the audience, but it's going to be in a radio format. So they're going to be able to talk into mics, and it's going to have the old school radio show sound. And it's really
That's gonna be
unique.
cool.
Yeah, and she gets to be Violet, so she gets to be a hussy, which seems to be her what she always is. And I'm wondering if I should be worried. Would have significant and far-reaching consequences impacting Syria, the Middle East, and global geopolitics. This is why it's considered a critical issue. Folks, I'm aware of all of our donations that are coming in. Livia she has told me to wait, so please bear with me. I haven't even reset it, so I'm turning them all off until Olivia tells me. So please keep donating. I would love to just like turn this on and see us there, but that's where we're at, FYI. Okay, so that's why we're waiting. So here's why it's important. And like I said, right away, power vacuum and chaos. Assad's fall could create a power vacuum in Syria, similar to what happened in Iraq, Saddam Hussein's removal, or in Libya after Muammar Gaddafi, his ousting. We talked about that last night. And the vacuum would lead to a prolonged instability with various factions ranging from moderate opposition groups to extremist organizations like ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Affiliates competing for control, which is fairly standard across Syria, but this time you don't have an opposing government stopping them. And what I've always tried to tell you is when Arabs don't have Jews to kill, they kill each other. And that's the truth. Rise of extremism. Assad's regime, despite its oppressive nature, has served as a bulwark against extremist groups. If his government collapses, which it has, radical groups could exploit the chaos to expand their influence, leading to a resurgence of terrorism in the region, potentially beyond. This is why you see U.S. forces striking and hitting ISIS and Al-Qaeda now. Everyone's like, why are they getting involved? Well, because they're destroying these groups, and at least Biden has the wherewithal to listen. There's never a bad day to kill terrorists. I'm sorry. I'm just letting you know. And this is going to not stabilize the region, but it will keep it at least fulfilling what Syria and Assad were doing, which is swatting down these groups from taking territorial control. We don't want another Iraq. Okay,
no,
and that's what we
and
saw.
This could easily turn into that too if we're not careful in how this entire situation is being handled. On one hand, everyone wants Bashar al-Assad gone. True, but we have to be careful about the who we allow, right, to step into that power vacuum. Because let's say, you say it's FSA or FSU?
Yeah, the Free Syria Army.
Okay, FSA. So if they should happen to fail, right, some other group comes in, says, hey, you guys are all unemployed. How about you work for our army? We're a group of mercenaries. We're a family bunch. That could very well end up happening. And so we have to be careful with this, because it's this type of fertile ground that tends to spawn new branches or new arms of already existing terrorist organizations.
Exactly. There's a couple questions. We're going to hold on to them, and then I'll bring it to you. Humanitarian crisis. Now, Syria, there has already been a huge refugee crisis, and that's North Africa and the Middle East into Europe. But this could also create a refugee crisis for places like Turkey, Afghanistan, India, and Pakistan, which is why we see Turkish drones being flown in. There are every stand country has pretty much sent in drones that are getting shot down. I mean, this is, people want to know what's going on, and they want to know what their border looks like and security. This just is not something that is going to keep stability inside the Middle East. It doesn't. Assad's fall could exacerbate displacement, increase civilian casualties, and worsen living conditions for millions. Not hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, but millions. That is not an exaggeration in the slightest. Looks like the Avs scored. Attaboys! Sorry. It's hockey season. And the Avs decided to go ahead and get two brand new goaltenders, which I think is going to be very good for the Avalanche. Neighboring countries, like I said, might face additional waves, further straining resources and regional stability. Proxy wars will escalate, and this is the big one. This brings more world powers into the proxy war scenario, which means more opportunity for conflict, more opportunity for escalation and more cost to the American taxpayer. So Syria has become a battleground for proxy wars involving global powers like the United States and Russia, as well as regional players such as Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia. Assad's removal could intensify these rivalries, with each faction vying to install a favorable regime, leading to prolonged conflict. Impact on allies and regional dynamics. The fall, it would obviously weaken Iran and Hezbollah, and the reason why is because the IRGC, the Iranian Republican Guard Corps, is predominantly in West Bank / Syria along that borderline. This definitely weakens, and this is why Israel is taking advantage, because it cuts a leg out from Iran and Hezbollah, Lebanon, which is absolutely massive. Really, Iran and Hezbollah are the only two countries who have any eager anticipation to attack and strike and hit Iran, and because Yemen can't, and the other two are now going to get slapped in the face. And at some point, Iran and Lebanon are going to have to pull back and say, do we really want to continue to lose forces, and then we will never be able to increase conflict with Iran once our physical armaments are gone. If you lose all your soldiers, really, you can bomb all you want, but in the end, if you can't stop a ground invasion, you're fucked. His key allies, it can disrupt the strategic link in the Shia Crescent Valley. While this might seem advantageous to their opponents, it could also destabilize Lebanon and escalate sectarian tensions across the region. Russian interests. Russia has heavily invested in Assad's survival, both militarily and politically. And, of course, gassing the civilians is just one step for Vladimir Putin, and it's not a big step for Assad, considering they've both done it. In fact, the last chemical weapons that were used after people talked about bioweapon labs were actually done by Putin and Assad. And it's interesting that they say, well, all of a sudden Putin cared about destroying biochemical weapons when he was one of the only world leaders to use them since mustard gas in World War II, or Saddam Hussein. His fall would undermine Moscow's influence in the Middle East and potentially diminish its military foothold. This is a very good thing for the Ukraine and Russia negotiations that are about to take place. Russia cannot fund a multifaceted war, and they don't have the people, they don't have the finances, they don't have the logistical support to do so. So this does not help them. It could provoke, though, a more aggressive Russian foreign policy elsewhere, where he could decide to take the short route to Ukraine, which would be using tactical nuclear warheads. I don't imagine he would, but if he's faced with fighting a two-front war or ending one very, very quickly, that option would bring down NATO on his head, and most assuredly Russia would fall. Lack of viable alternatives, the absence of the unified and credible opposition, means that replacing Assad with a stable and effective government is unlikely in the near term. This uncertainty could lead to prolonged conflict and fragmentation of Syria, similar to the situations in Yemen and Somalia, which we know Somalia and Yemen hold two of the largest housing for global terrorism in the known world. The eastern Yemeni side is fairly democratic, has a electoral system, and the western side is run by the Yemeni terrorists known as the Houthis. Somalia is the same thing. For Western countries, Assad's fall could mean increased migration pressures and the risk of terrorism spreading to destabilize region, but also could create conflict flowing into the United States, England, and allies, which could weaken our ability because of, increasing attacks on U.S. soil. Assad's fall would be less about the end of an authoritarian regime, which it's not, and more about the consequence of what fills the void. While his regime has been widely criticized for its brutality, the alternatives may not promise stability or peace, leaving Syria and the broader region trapped in uncertain turmoil, especially for theological groups of Christianity or Orthodox or Jews will be systematically eradicated from Syria, as they are with most Muslim countries. So something to think about. Is this a big deal? Yes.
Yes. Yes. If I can add something, the one thing that actually kind of concerns me more than anything else is that this whole area is basically littered with different factions of Islamic militant groups. And you can throw a dart at a dartboard and just pick a point in time where the U.S. had actually had horses in the race. Like they were trying to influence some level of those groups, those Islamic militant groups, against their own governments of the time, right? We did it for in Afghanistan. We helped support the groups that were in there against Russia. We've done it against multiple groups, right? Chechnya, I think we also did it. So I'm a little dubious about what our role in this might be. And now that there is the toppling of the regime, like if there's any other groups that come to power, or if there's any groups that basically say, hey, we want a chunk of this pie, and U.S., if you support us, and again, we've done this kind of crap in the. So are we going to potentially just be adding to the, thank you, Bobby. Are we going to just be potentially adding to the fuel to the fire in that area, so to speak? I don't know.
What do you think? What impact do you think this has? We obviously knew that Africa. We're going to get a bunch of donations coming in here. We'll say thank you at the end in one shot if it's okay with everybody. What do you think about famine that's going to be taking place in Africa, specifically Central Africa, but then obviously will make an impact in Northern Africa? Yeah, you've got two major shipping lanes that are essentially shut down. You have the Houthis, which are creating issues on port in the Red. You've got the Black Sea, which is have Ukraine. You've got the Mediterranean, which is really an open port. But who's to say what happens in the Med? With these increasing conflicts and Russia's stance and what they decide to do. If they decide to park a battle group in front of the Med, what's going to happen there? There's a lot of situation.
Right.
How do you think this impacts not just Africa, but the Middle East when it comes to famine and food crisis?
Well, we know that in Africa and other parts of the world that this year specifically was going to be the year where fertilizer became way more expensive, which means that for those who couldn't afford it, like they're just going to either have to make do with the existing grounds that they have, which is to say that would lead to about a 75% decrease in whatever crops they could grow during that year. Now, so we already know that food is already going to be scarce as it is, and this is mostly because of the war that Russia is currently partaking in with Ukraine, which has prohibited a lot of the precursors that we would use for fertilizers. Now, I say that to say this: for any of the groups, specifically in Syria or any other parts of Africa, if there were a group who could seize upon that, who could use food or fertilizer as a type of controlling weapon, not a weapon in the literal sense, but a weapon as if to say, we don't like you, ergo, you're going to starve to death. And we've seen that happen in the past. We have seen the results of that exact type of thinking in the past. It's replete in history. Think about what happened in Ukraine back in the 60s. It's happened in China with the Great Leap Forward. So I think this is not going to be a good year for the people in Central Africa or potentially even in Syria.
And the interesting thing also is people are like, well, hey, didn't Biden just give $1 billion to Africa? Yes. And I'll be completely transparent with you. I have no issue with money coming into those areas in Africa. And the reason why is I've tried to be very, very open and honest with you and direct with you about the importance of Africa in the future. And the more land that we can grab, the absolute better. Folks, I want to call out one donation that I want to say thank you so much for was from Barbara Stewart. We were at the end of the show and it came in at 10:15, so it came in late. We didn't see it, so I want to say thank you to her so very, very much. She gave us $62.50. that went on last night's show. So just FYI, so far people have been really, really giving. We want to say thank you so much for the donation. It means the world to us. So I want to quickly thank Barbara, Maureen, Glenn, Kevin, Christine, Maddie, and Bobby for donating. Jeff Honeycutt last night, Jennifer, Kevin again, Bobby, Brenda, Frank Wood, just amazing people. Thank you so much for keeping us alive. Here's the only thing I'll say about Syria. The biggest thing that it's going to create is, in my opinion, you will see genocide in Syria like we have not seen since probably Bosnia-Herzegovina, Somalia. This will be there will definitely be mass graves in this one, and that is because of the variance in religious beliefs, economic demographics, and to be completely transparent, race, color, and creed. And that is just the way it is. Syria, of all the things you can say about Assad, he protected Christians. And although the population of Christians in Syria is not immensely large, 2%, that's still hundreds of thousands of Christians. And those graves are threatened to run deep if we do not ensure that these terrorist groups are under control. I listen, I want to be clear about something. Because I believe that we need to support Africa from a military standpoint, a geopolitical standpoint, doesn't mean I don't care about the people in North Carolina. We can do both. And we should. And I can't express enough how that type of talk, I am here to report and give you geopolitical analysis that is on point to the subject, and this is the way that I operate. If I brought in every situation to weigh my opinion on geopolitics, that is what makes a good geopolitical analyst, who can separate what's going on here that doesn't impact Africa, but could impact back home. There's a time and a place for that. I care about everyone in the United States. I care about Carolina. I care about homelessness. All of those things are true. But I also care that if China and Russia and Iran leverage South Africa and take the eastern side of Africa, that once they take the eastern side of Africa, we lose the Indian Ocean. We lose very easily the Sea of Japan, because once they take Africa, then they're going to go after Australia. And once they go after Australia, it's ball game. Yeah. When it comes to essentially cutting the Pacific off. And we learned this with the German military. We learned this in the 80s and the 90s with the Russians and their Navy. It is not a good idea to lose the North Atlantic, the Pacific, or the Indian Ocean in any conflict, because those three areas are the thoroughfare to reach our enemy. So, yes, I care about North Carolina. Yes, I care about veterans. Yes, I care about fentanyl. I care about money at home, but I still am an advocate for peace through strength. And the way we do that is to ensure that we have more bases than anybody, and we have a world presence that can kill anyone in the world within 3 hours and have a carrier there within 72. That's my focus. Leeroy.
I will say that our sending aid to Africa, I honestly, I can see both sides of the argument on this one. There's
Sure.
a very big part of me that understands it and says to myself that, look, dictators will control the flow of food in Africa. And if dictators are doing that, that means a whole bunch of people are going to needlessly starve, all because of the power and the corruption of one man. Now, so by us sending aid, money, and food to Africa, that hopefully right? The people that would be able to leverage said aid would be the people that need it the most. And if we can make that happen and push some influence in that area, it's an influence for other movements that would then topple those dictators, right? So I understand it. Um, you know, there's never a clear, these are very, very muddy waters, and there's never a clear answer on this. We have plenty of people on the right side of the aisle that are saying, hey, look, we need to cut Ukraine off. It's the same argument to a much greater degree, right? So I understand it. I get both sides of the argument, and it's never one that I'm ever going to come to a solid conclusion on, because I could very easily say, well, in this situation, it's appropriate, but in this situation over here, with the same number of lives that are at peril, it's not appropriate here. And so I don't know.
Here's the best example that I can give you. World War II started in two places. It started in Poland, and it started in North Africa. And it's because none of those things kicked World War II off. World War I and World War II both had Russia getting involved. And everyone says, well, the reason why Russia got involved is because of Poland and Western Europe decided to get froggy and call Russia's bluff. Well, Russia always does that. And if you're bluffing and you're threatening and a country stands up to you and you decide to go ahead and create a wartime situation and start rattling sabers that turns into a conflict, well, then that's your fault. Germany likes to say that they were sucked into a war because Russia dragged them into it. But what they don't talk about is the Blitzkrieg. They don't talk about taking over France. They don't talk about their expansion and their conflict with England. And they kind of let these things go by the wayside. But the boiling cauldron with Poland and predominantly North African regions were in open conflict long before Germans pushed into France. If we let this go, and I am a nationalist, 100%, but I'm also a historian who knows that the reason why World War II took place is because we sat back and did not get involved for way too long. And
right.
That's really what it comes down to. And if it wasn't for our ability for production of textiles and plastics, we would all be speaking German and Japanese right now. Japanese on the West Coast, German on the East Coast. And that is a fact. We were able to make tanks at a 10-to-1 ratio. We were able to make canopies for planes and engines and fuselage at a 25-to-1 ratio versus the German. They had superior engineering. We had superior manufacturing. Manufacturing won. And the reason why the United States became a superpower and one of the richest countries in the world, and still to this day, is because of World War II.
Absolutely. Post-World War II, right up to World War II, the biggest issue that any two countries ever had between them was normally trade. Somebody was at a deficit. Somebody else was taking advantage of said deficit, right? And all of the trade prior to World War II was a series of sequestered imperial exchanges, and each country used their own military to ensure the safety of that trade. So French trade, was supported with French military. English trade was supported with the English military. Denmark, so on and so forth. At the end of World War II, the United States basically said, that's enough of that. And we put together an agreement between 42 countries called Bretton Woods. And it basically allowed everyone to trade, to sell their surplus into our system to help underwrite the rebuilding of Europe. Ours was the only economy that could do that. And because of that, after World War II, the United States economy like quintupled. And at one point, we commanded more than half of the world's gold and almost a third of the world's manufacturing capacity, which is insane. So we really have to consider what the world would have looked like had we had stayed the hell out of World War II. Matt is absolutely correct.
And Africa is I've already explained to you. It will be. It is. A lot of people go, "Oh, Antarctica." No, nobody wants to be in Antarctica. No desire. Okay. It has nothing but ice. You're not going to get any major minerals that you can reach without drilling, a shit ton further than we're willing to drill. There's not anything of substantial value. Any type of oil that is there is going to be, once again, impossible to get to at this time. Antarctica is this whole thing there's a green, beautiful, lush. Okay, whatever. You're just a conspiracy theorist, and you need to go ahead and suck on your neuron geno detector, or whatever the hell it's called, whatever the hell that thing's called. That idiot who was on Sean Ryan's show. Neuron neutron detector bolt, whatever the hell it is. It was like it's a lab experiment to go ahead and it's a giant microphone, and people are like, it's a weather satellite, it's a neuron detector, and it's gonna destroy everything. Okay, but anyway, I digress. The point is, Antarctica is not where any type of conflict will take place. Africa is the last place on Earth that has not been conquered by a global power. And that is the truth. And if now people are like, well, if we give them money, the warlords will get it. No, if you give them money, you stop them from not only having Russia come in because they can provide their own infrastructure, innovation, technology, irrigation, ports, shipping lanes, refueling plants, textiles and chemical plants, their own power, their own petroleum. These type of things will help this country move forward, and not the secondary benefit is not to have to take money from foreign adversaries of the United States. That's why you do it. And if you turn them all into billionaires, they're not going to take the billions from Russia, China, who can't give them the trillions. They are millions right now, and they are very slim pickings and easy to negotiate. The naval bases that China put in there, they got them for a song, an absolute song. They took a few points off of trade with Africa, and they opened up their ports to them. Africa needs millions of dollars, so we give them billions because nobody can give them trillions. That's the best thing I can tell you to make you understand why the United States needs to get in there.
Yeah, it's interesting how China does it too. So what they do if they want to own a chunk of territory, specifically in places like Africa, is they will offer the local country or city or what have you a loan. They will say, hey, we will develop this and you will repay back said loan. And if you can't, then we own that area forever moving forward. And it's called, I think it's called like debt trap diplomacy, something like that. It's kind of a slimy move, but that's largely how China has gotten away with doing this for years. Unfortunately, it also doesn't win them a lot of friends. So if any of those same countries ever wished for China to go away, that's an ever-growing list. So they have to be careful too.
The Ice Cube Neutrino Detector Observatory is the full name. That is correct. Sorry. Took a second for me to wrap my brain around that, but yes, that is the name. And if you listen to it, of course, it's just like Jewish space lasers and HARP and all this other stuff. Is when everybody hears something that is extravagant, they think it's government weather-controlled shit and whatever. I don't care. I don't want to talk about it. How do you know where these billions are going? Listen to me. Okay? I am not sitting here and saying that the government is frugal and efficient with their spending. I'm not saying that. Okay? The other choice is to do nothing and to have China, from a thoroughfare and import and exports, gain energy independence. Telling you, watch out for the Avs. They will gain energy independence. And if China gains energy independence, remember when I said that China wants to run the world through the economy? If
Sure.
they achieve energy independence, they don't want economy. They'll want global domination. If you want to turn China
Absolutely.
into Russia, if you want to turn China into the Japanese or the English, you're going to create China that will dominate the world. And I'm warning you that Africa is the absolute crib key to that happening. And if we are not careful and do not at least reach the same level of construction and investment into Africa, we are going to lose. Because if China can put a standing army in Africa, they are within reach of the United States in a very effective way, in waters that we don't dominate. And if we let our guard down and have to go ahead and cover the western side and eastern side of Africa with our Navy, we have to cover the Mediterranean. We have to cover the North Atlantic and the Pacific. Our resources will be spread so thin that hypersonic missiles will do us in. The reason why hypersonic doesn't work right now is because of redundancy. They can't get all of our carriers simultaneously unless we spread them out to a point where we can't have somebody else in area within 24 hours. That's why you see multiple carrier groups, not on top of each other, but usually within 24 hours of steaming, even though they're not steam anymore. We have to understand is that we have to keep our enemies small enough where we can effectively keep them in check. If you want to cover Africa, it is the single-handedly the largest landmass when it comes to covered and coastal by water. That is why Africa is so fucking important, because it's one of the biggest land masses. In fact, isn't Africa the largest continent on Earth? And you can't say Eurasia. It is. So therefore, and it's covered by what? Like 98% water all around it. That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sea. That's a lot of sea to cover. You don't want China to run the eastern half of Africa, okay? Because if they run the eastern half, then they run the western half. And they run the western half, then they have a export powerhouse with natural resources and energy and everything else that they could possibly want, which they don't have now. Leeroy, go ahead.
No. Well, so China currently imports more than 80% of their energy, more than 50% of their own food. And so I understand the aspirations of China to want to become energy independent. It's just rather unfortunate that all of that energy exists outside of their borders, which is why they import it. So when you get a sense of where and why China is throwing bases up where they are, and the territories for which they're trying to influence, you kind of get a sense that, okay, well, this is all to serve a purpose, and that purpose is to make things easier for them to import or to leverage in any way, shape, or form they can, pressure on other countries to bend to their will. Now, I say that to say this: a country that is that strong still has to import it, right? They still have to bring it in. I mean, China itself, unless they take Taiwan, which might happen, China itself still exists within Chinese territory. You're not moving the entire continent. So they will always have to import their energy. And if enough countries, right, get together and say, look, you're not doing this. You're not shipping all of this excess crude or energy or coal, whatever the case may be, by us, and we're just not going to say anything. And again, China has no friends locally.
No, Japan
So,
hates them. Japan hates them. South Korea hates them. North Korea hates them. And North Korea hates them because China slaps them every time they try to go ahead and invade into North Korea. He's right. They have no friends. And go ahead.
And so because of that, you run into this situation where, okay, China is the big boy on the planet, you know, importing all of this energy. Are they though? Because all of those unfriendly neighbors are just waiting. They're waiting for their opportunity to not only take that oil, to take those resources. This could very well end up in a much, much bigger battle. And I'm not so sure that it's going to go the way China wants it to.
Yeah, well, let me just expand on this a little bit, because I'm not saying that China is in a position now. If unmolested, they will be. I want to give you some. One of the things about geopolitics is also geographical analysis. It's one of the most important. Geopolitics is not. It takes into consideration everything from the politics to the religion to the language to the education to the overall valuation of their dollar to topographical maps to waterways to it analyzes everything about that country. And essentially we do a SWOT analysis on it. And SWOT analysis is a strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. And we categorize and put them in quadrants, very similar to business, and break these countries down and can kind of give you a predictive analysis of not only where they were, where they are, and where they're going to be, most importantly. But I want to give you some stats on Africa, just to give you guys an idea. Total coastline in Africa, 26,000 kilometers. That's 16,155 miles. That is essentially 4 times the width of the United States. Almost 5. Does everyone hear what I just said? Good.
Yeah.
All right. And that's not including mainlands. It's also islands. Here are the bodies of water from my recollection. See if I've missed anything, buddy. You got the Med to the north, right? The Red Sea to the northeast. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Indian Ocean. That's to the southeast and east.
Yep.
And then you got the Atlantic to the west. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main bodies of water to navigate. Now let's look at the percentage here of overall total perimeter, land and coastline combined, is 53,000 kilometers.
My God.
The coastline accounts for roughly 26,000. 49% of Africa's entire body is water. So when we look at its size of the 53,000 kilometers, 49% of that is just water. Coastline is what it's saying. It's coastline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, that means that almost 97% of Africa's coastline or overall continent is touching water. That's terrifying. So if you look at China coming in there and building bases on the eastern side with the landmass that they possess, and if they get into Africa and they do what they did in the United States, and honestly, investment in Africa is a song. It's a song. It's cheaper than dirt. So I just hate is why wars are fought. And what's within the boundaries of that real estate is how important those wars are to fight. And the things that Leeroy just told you will not just be a commodity, It'll be a necessity in the next 30 years. We have to get into Africa. And I guess the last thing I'm going to say, because it's a good conversation, but we already give humanitarian aid for AIDS relief. We already invest for food in Africa. We already give Africa money. And I can't express this enough. $1 billion, can I just say, it is honestly,
It's not that much.
it's not that much. Not to protect what we're trying to prevent. Does that make sense? Now, we've got to go ahead and we got to ensure that when Doji is created, that we look at the overall, where the money's going. Is it going to warlords? Is it going to, the bad guys? You got to check it. You got to watch it. You got to make sure. But the only way we do that is making sure the CIA is actively watching Africa. That's it. And we have to make it important. We have to make it important. So instead of the CIA focused on domestic things, or the NSA focused on domestic things, what they're not supposed to be doing, let's encourage the FBI to do their fucking jobs, take FBI out of the war on terrorism, and let's encourage the CIA and the NSA and the NRO to do what they are designed to do, which is to prevent, predict, and that's their job. Okay? Predict and prevent. Sorry. Anything else I'm missing, buddy?
No, I think you hit it right on the head. We've kind of called this out before.
Yeah,
it was a
we have.
couple of years ago when we said that basically there's going to be a caloric and fertilizer net negative in that area anyway.
Mhm.
And so because of the wars and everything else, this is just not helping. Then when you consider their natural resources, the minerals that everyone is after, right? The metals, the cobalt and the nickel and cadmium.
Right.
It just makes it such an odd area because the main section of Africa, you'd say it's Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, Nigeria. Those areas in there just they can't grow enough of their own food to sustain themselves. And so that's why fertilizer was so important in that area. When you start talking about like Southern Africa, when you talk about Zambia, Angola, Botswana, generally speaking, they're going to be okay. They can grow a lot of their own food, so they can probably go for a lot longer period of time without outside influence from places like China.
Yeah, they're more industrialized.
That central part, right? But that central part, that's the part that we need to be focusing in on. We'll see. See what happens.
Yeah, the Southern Africa is much more developed, but that also makes it extremely vulnerable, because a developed country is a soft target for a militarily powerful and financially more powerful country. That's what we have to understand, is just because something is advanced doesn't mean that it's necessarily well protected. I'm just going to show you guys one more, just so you understand. Someone, I think, was challenging me a little bit, that Africa is not 97% covered by water on its coastline. Yeah, it is. Here you go. And you're forgetting the islands too. Pretty much every square inch of Africa, it's a floating island. And the connection points between the Suez, there is no connection points. But land mass is considered to be within 1 to 3 miles of the continent, is still considered to be a connected land mass. Africa has no unguarded coastline, or has guarded coastline. It is all open territory. It is all fresh and available. And China is putting up bases on the east. We need to be putting bases on the west. Now, we have a very, very large and effective base in that area, from a command and control standpoint, that is absolutely, they're not going to be able to achieve that same level that we have. And I'm not going to go into a bunch of detail. I'm just going to say, from a command and control standpoint, it is an excellent position that we're in. We need to ensure that we have naval superiority. And soon, something that we're not considering is air superiority. And that's going to bring us into our next topic, because everyone needs to calm down. Let's talk about drones in New Jersey, Leeroy. I wonder
What's
that our next topic is shifting gears into drones, and we're talking about air superiority. I'm gonna, before we go into Jersey drones, let me work backwards here, and I'm gonna give you a 45-second opening, and then Leroy's gonna give you his. The United States has over-the-horizon superiority right now. And there are two major aircraft that allow us to do and run this type of mission, the F-22 and the F-35. And the F-35's effective range is 500 miles without even engaging the target. This is no more ever present than what Israel just did to Iran, which was using F-35s to strike the heart of Tehran and literally not even be lit by SAMs or AAA. They didn't even come up on radar. That is pretty fucking amazing. So, those are great, but technology is advancing, and offensive defensive capabilities, one being offense, one being defense, and then offensive defensive capability. Best example I can give you is like an F-18 Hornet. It has a fighter, which is more of a defensive tactic, and an A, which is for the attack feature, which it can actually bomb and attack. Multifaceted equipment that can be offense and defensive minded. Bless you.
Thank you.
And when you have a 35, it can be a multifaceted platform. It can attack, it can defend, and it can be an offensive defensive weapon. When you have a hypersonic missile, its job is primarily offense and to overwhelm its targets with multiple independent warheads. A singular hypersonic missile isn't going to necessarily do what you want. 100 of them is going to be able to fuck up an aircraft battle group pretty well. Now, real quick, I said 45 seconds, so I'm going to wrap this up. There are multiple systems that we possess that nobody is taking into account that can engage and intercept even a hypersonic missile. But the question is, can any country truly afford to send 100 hypersonic missiles? And that is the problem. You might be able to take
expensive.
Yeah, you might be able to take out a few $1 billion worth of, $100 billion of an aircraft carrier group, but it's going to cost you that much to do it. And that's the rub. Now, last thing. The United States understands that drone technology is the wave of the future. And as hypersonic missiles will change the way that we have operations around naval warfare, air superiority and air warfare has to change because they're the same type of warfare is coming for air warfare, which is multiple independent aircraft and to overwhelm singular targets. Where an F-35 might be able to go ahead and combat 5 or 6 fighters, it's going to have a hard time against 100 drones, especially some of those drones are ECM, they're electronic countermeasures, they're jamming. Some of them are ghosted, they can move fast, they can travel in ways that the F-35 can't. So the United States is recognizing that there is an extreme rush to catch up on the drone technology. Is that fair to say, Leeroy?
It is.
Good. Now I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you say whatever you want to say.
How do I say this without
carefully
throwing up red flags?
Carefully.
So that actually happens to be one of the areas that I work full time in. So everyone knows that, There is some level of service that Matt and I are both attached to. But when I got out of, or separate from that, I should say, I belong to a contracting group that's what they look at is ballistic and hypersonic weapons. And I say that to say this. We're quickly kind of finding out that hypersonics, although a different type of tool set, isn't necessarily the tool set that everyone thought that it might be.
Correct.
They're extremely expensive, for one. And if you're going to use one of them, you know that your the opposing force is going to retaliate. Full force, it's coming, right? So really, its only advantage, and hypersonics are basically any class of missile systems, right, that don't utilize a ballistic trajectory. So they don't go atmospheric. They stay much closer to the Earth. They fly much faster. Mach 5 is the minimum speed in order for something to be classified as a hypersonic. But it's not the thing that everyone needs to be worried about the way you think it is. Because, again, they're extremely expensive. And as it turns out, they're also extremely fragile. They have to withstand quite a bit to go through the atmosphere in terms of ablation. That's the material that's on the surface of them that has to melt away, right? They're extremely difficult to make, also making them very expensive and only in the hands of a very select few countries. China, right? Russia, us, certainly. And I would venture to say that I don't even know everything that we have, but it's impressive. So I would just like to, clarify that part of it.
And I want to extend that also. You don't take out a hypersonic. See, people are like, you can't touch a hypersonic missile. The reason why is it moves too fast for our guidance and our defense. Well, that's not true. Computations can do amazing things, but you're thinking in the wrong way. You're thinking about direct hits, missile to missile. You don't take it out with a missile to missile. You take it out with concussive force, or you take it out with chaff or something else. So you would put a bloom of heat, you would put a bloom of chaff, or you would, more importantly, create a concussive hit that would make a circumference that the envelope would destroy anything. Because the thing is that something moving at Mach 10 or 11 is extremely fast and extremely destructive. And the opposite, or not the opposite, but also holds true, is that something that moving at a Mach 11 is extremely destructive by its own self because of the amount of speed it's moving. Is that it wouldn't take a lot to destroy it based upon if it creates any imbalance or aerodynamic degradation, the thing's going to break up and be absolutely harmless. And that is what we're trying to master, so to speak, and I won't say anymore. So when we talk about this, why are we seeing drones all over New Jersey? Why are we seeing drones all over the United States? And let's talk about it. So clusters of drones are being, there's eyewitness accounts. And the FBI, of course the FBI, who is completely, in my opinion, not suited to investigate this in any way, shape, or form. I have no idea why this is not the FAA with military oversight from Department of Homeland Security. I don't understand why the NSA isn't involved. I'm confused at why. Or the Air Force, right. Or Space Force, which this, in my opinion, qualifies for, as these are unidentified flying objects. You know they're drones, or you assume that they're drones. This is what people are seeing. A 4 light to 3 light pattern in the sky. And it is moving.
Quadcopter.
Yeah, don't spoil the lead. So you're seeing 4 lights on this. And let me explain something about this. Why Okay, everyone just look at me and listen to me right now. I'm going to blow this up right now that these are foreign drones. Okay? I'm going to destroy it for you right now. I'm going to ask a question. Leroy's going to answer, and there's nothing I'm asking that's going to give it up. When it comes to surveillance from a foreign country, Leeroy, what is one of the most significant and most important things about surveillance and not having counterintelligence or counter surveillance applied to your mission? What's
Stealth.
the number one? That's it. So stealth single-handedly is the most important variable with surveillance and collection. And by getting recognized, you now have the ability for counterintelligence and counter surveillance to interfere with your mission parameters. So here we go. Why would a foreign government put light boards on a quadcopter that they're stealing and surveilling the United States for? A, why would they? And B, who would? Now, I want you to think about that, and you're going to get your fucking answer. And we can stop this whole conversation. Leeroy, you're going to answer number one, and I'll answer number two because you can't answer number two. Number one, which foreign government would put running board lights on their surveillance equipment when stealth is the number one priority for their mission? Can you name the country that would do that? Right. You want to take an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? How about tomorrow you can come back? Okay, great. So nobody.
Why would you?
Why would you?
Why would you do that?
You wouldn't. You just wouldn't. So therefore, which country, if we know it's not a foreign country, would put running lights on so it doesn't hit an FAA-controlled aircraft, like a private, residential, or military aircraft, because you don't want to hit your own vehicles in the air. So you put lights on it so you can test it effectively. You can test its optics. You can test how it interferes with electromagnetic devices, how it interferes in high propensity and high lit situations. And you put it in an area to check your noise and your decibel level, and you give it a real-time test to see where you're at.
Isn't it funny that most people will listen to what you just said from the perspective of, say, a driver, right? If I'm driving around in a car, why would I turn my lights on? So I can see. But there's nobody in a quadcopter. So why do you put lights on a quadcopter? Is it so that the quadcopter can see? No.
That's right.
It's so that it's so that everyone can see it, not so that it can see everything else. It's not like those are headlights. Those are just indicators so you know where the damn thing is at.
That's right. And this is why I'm not trying to brag. This is why we were in intelligence and are in intelligence. It doesn't mean that we're smarter. It just means that we know how to remove the noise from a situation to find the simplest explanation that contradicts what everyone's saying. And I've done this with the Second Amendment. I've done it with many. We Goose just did it. It's because if you simply play that game and know how foreign countries and ourselves collect intelligence, would we ever put running board lights on a U-2 spy plane? Why? Even though they have them, and you can turn them on.
When they're landing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's SR-71 has lights.
Sure.
So now that we've done that, let's go ahead and have another conversation about what we're seeing, so I can help you. And Leeroy's he's gonna fucking get a boner over this, because
I haven't seen any of these.
Oh, this is fun. This is fun. So this is Bedminster. Go figure. It's where Trump. Here's a video. Let's go ahead and watch this. Okay.
That's a helicopter.
Thank you very much. Right. So in 3 seconds, Leeroy and I automatically know it's a Black Hawk. We know by the pitch. We know by the overall speed of the rotors. We've been on them. Any military person knows that that is not a drone. But people are going to go ahead and say, this is a drone. So here we go. And if it's a Black Hawk. You can tell by the tail rotor.
No, you can. But is it facing you?
No, it's facing away.
Yeah, it's facing away.
I already updated all of them. Hold on. No, but I'd love for you to like come on and talk about donations real quick and get people to. No, not verbally. Okay, I'll do it, folks. Donations are at $178.79. Olivia asked me to remind you that we are trying for our 250 goal. It is a slower time in the year, and your help and assistance is the most important. So if you have an opportunity and you haven't had a chance to donate and you plan to, please do. If you like the show, you like the content, this is how we stay alive. What was your question, buddy? It's moving it's moving horizontally from the key position that person's in like 7 degrees off a 90-degree angle going east. So it's moving to the northeast slightly, and it's horizontal to perspective. So the nose is to the right and tail's to the left. Does that make sense? What I just here?
Yes.
Look at this.
Yes.
It is. Here's tail. Here's rotor. Here's nose.
Yes.
It's moving this way away at like a 7-degree angle. Here it is.
Yeah.
Landing chopper, folks.
It's interesting.
What's up? It's a landing chopper.
No, that's exactly what it is. He's just coming in.
So that's one person saying, "Whoa." Oh, Avs are just fucking destroying Pittsburgh. Oh, we got goaltenders, dude. I'm so happy. So there's your first. That video has been going around. Okay, that's been going around. Here is another one. I can already tell you by the pitch of the engine, but do you want to tell them? Let's listen. All right, so let me explain something to you. The Doppler effect is not a circle.
No.
And a Doppler effect is going to sound different with downward propulsion than rear propulsion, turbine propulsion.
Sure.
You need to understand that. So the distance of sound that will carry from a rear propulsion style engine is going to be longer than a downward propulsion like a helicopter or a drone. Number one. Number two. Let's watch the full length of this. Do you see the color in the back? Yeah, it's single gen engine. That's correct. You got it. Listen. Welcome to the Doppler effect taking place, by the way. One more time. I'm going to show you a picture of its frame, and you're going to know right what it is. Here's the rest. Now, they're saying that these it's not an Osprey. No, it's not. Nope, it's not an Osprey.
No.
But what you'll see is that they're saying that this is the size of a car as a drone. Now, planes look like the size of a car when they're at altitude, and you can't necessarily tell the size of a vehicle against an open black sky. But anyone who knows, no, it's not a Chinook. It's not a Chinook. It's not an Osprey. Mm-hmm. No, it's not a Hilo. It's not a propeller.
No,
that's a jet turbine, single jet turbine.
Yeah.
It's more than likely an F-35. And when I show you the profile it looks like a modified F-35. Because understand, if we okay, let's go to the other question before we show the rest of this. If we know that it's the United States flying these, Leeroy, why would they be flying things that they already own that are in existence and have been tested ad nauseum? Would they do that? Why more testing? They already have enough. So is it safe to assume that the reason you test is because you have
it's
data
something that was already IOC, right?
That's it. You don't have the data, so you test things and you try. It's just like sea trials. If somebody sees a major aircraft carrier out there that doesn't look like every other aircraft carrier, the reason why, well, not with sea trials, because you would have seen that thing mocked up for a long time. But if you, what is the it looks like a hydrofoil. It looks like the 007 Goldfinger yacht that is out there right now.
Pegasus?
Yeah, the Pegasus. Pegasus was kept under lock and key, and when the Pegasus was actually in the water, people are like, what in the flying is that?
You're talking about the patrol boat, right?
Yeah, that freaking, it looks like it's hollow in the middle and it's up. It looks like a hydrofoil, but it's not. It essentially has two buoyant left and right sides, and then it's up. It looks like a fucking Tron vehicle. Oh, let me just hold on. See if I can
show
find
me
it.
a picture of it, because you're.
Yeah, I know. I'm not describing it very well.
I mean, I've seen every experimental type of craft that exists. That's kind of what I do.
No, I'm not talking about the Pegasus. Pegasus is an old aircraft. That's old Vietnam
ship.
Yeah, it's an old. I'd say aircraft. I'm sorry. My brain's scrambling because I'm trying to figure out this prototype. Naval. What was the name of it? Gosh, I'm gonna find it. Yeah, the Pegasus is old. Mm-hmm. Here it is. It is the M80 Stiletto.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another one that's much bigger. Anyway, a futuristic looking a vessel that is, to the untrained eye or somebody who hasn't seen them before, goes, what's that? Well,
right.
Now you know shit.
It looks like a Lamborghini.
Right. So
it looks like an airplane without wings.
So my point is that if you see something, immediately your thoughts might come to, oh, well, this is the drone. Now I've looked at all the footage, and I have not seen anything that tells me that these are standard drones. Here is another picture.
Drones. This isn't her.
Everybody watch this real quick. And then we'll get into some specifics.
Own backyard, and she joins us now. Rachel, y'all been seeing these. You were.
Uh-oh. We might see our first one. Leeroy, don't say anything unless you can say something. Ready?
Rachel Campos Duffy captured this video of drones. This is in her own backyard.
I already know what that is. We both know what that is, and it's in production. It's not even. It's a lot. It's in use.
You got me on this one.
Okay, hold on.
My gut instinct on the front would say the
Yeah.
two lights up front or farthest to the port looks like almost like landing lights. And then you've got the two lights, the green and the red, which are just your port and starboard indicators. I guess I would have to hear it more.
I'm gonna flash something, and then I'm gonna take it down right away. Ready?
Oh,
That's it.
47.
Yep, that's it. So if you can look at point, front, and it essentially looks like the B-2 Spirit, B-2 bomber drone. But watch and listen. See if you can hear it.
Backyard. Rachel Campos Duffy captured this video of drones. This is in her own backyard, and she joins us now. Rachel, y'all been seeing
Let's
these.
listen
You
to
were
this and see what
saying
they have to
prayers
say.
with your kids, and they look
I saw it out the
window.
window, but that footage was actually captured while I was at the Patriot Awards, and my kids were home, and they saw.
No, that is not a B2, because if a B2 was to go to wingtip vertical, no, it's not a B2. If you want to see a B2 flying like this,
You don't want to see that, by the way.
you don't want to see that, by the way. And that's where that vehicle was. I just watch.
And they captured that video.
It's not a. Mike Lynch says, "Damn, I'm good." Let's see where he called that. Yeah, it looks like a B2. It's not a B2 bomb. It's not a B2. It just looks like a B2.
That's more like a potential X-47, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's a drone that's available right now. It's a stealthy drone, folks.
It's been more than once.
Actually,
You've seen-
actually, we're using them for fuel tanker.
Yeah,
The X-47s.
They're being used right now, and I'm not going to say anything else other than that. They're being used right now.
This is all everyone is talking about. If you live in Morristown, Mendham, Summit, Bedminster,
See it?
that whole Far Hills, that whole area, that's all you talk about. Go to the neighborhood, apps, where you put in if you lost your dog or your cat.
And you can tell because the running lights and the spacing between the running lights and overall size, if you know aircraft, the space between, it's not a B2. It's just too small.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing that for everyone who buys into this idea that it's a foreign technology, isn't it weird that the Martians also use our exact lighting convention for port and starboard? That's
Isn't it
amazing.
interesting?
It's like
Isn't it
it's
interesting?
an intergalactic law instead of just a national one.
It's like mathematics. It's the universal language of illuminating your space vehicle.
All about drone sightings now. And so
That is exactly what it is. I with no doubt. I'll even blow it up.
Whoa, easy there, Al Qaeda.
Oh yeah. And you can see it. It's exactly what it is. This picture is a little bit better, but let's listen.
I think what you're seeing is, first of all, no answers. Whatever the governor put out was a non-answer. It didn't make me feel any better. And I just think we're in this era. You remember when I had my interview with Donald Trump at Bedminster? I'm like, will you declassify JFK? Will you declassify Epstein? Will you declassify...
Karen, I'll answer that question for you. Give me a second. Just hold on, and we'll answer that after we watch a little of this. Why not give the public a heads up?
Sure.
And
Gives
he
the
was
public
like, yes.
all the opportunities in the world to bring their cameras to bear, to record it in every fashion that can be made possible, to literally put 1,000 different types of cameras pointed in the same general direction while you're trying to fly something that you're trying to keep the technical details, keep a lid on it. Yeah, let's do that. No.
And here's the thing is you don't know if this is a modified aircraft. But if you get video of it and sound profiles, people like Leeroy and I on the bad team are going to listen to that and say, that does not sound like a standard X-47 to me, and analyze the fucking look of it and the feel of it, and they're going to break it down. It's really simple. Here's the rest.
I think we're in this era where people want more transparency from government, and they are so tired of the lies being told to them by the government. And I think that's what you're seeing right here. People are outraged. 3 weeks, no answer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we were interviewing those mayors, that's what they said. They're not satisfied with just being told, well,
Tom,
you're
I'll answer
safe,
that question for you,
fine.
too.
And we want to know why, who's manning these, where are they from? Are they from another country? Because they told us the spy balloon is going through, and they allowed it to travel throughout our whole country before they actually took it down.
And then we found out they knew it was traveling over the country, that a Chinese spy balloon was going over our country, and Joe Biden's government was okay with it.
All right. So let's go ahead and put the bow on this, because there's some other video I want to show on it. Do you guys really believe that we're going to allow a foreign aircraft into our airspace?
Not even a little bit.
Not even remotely close. And anyone that says, well, they can't see the aircraft unless it has an IFF transponder, bullshit. Bull and shit. No. Everything that gets within a certain range of our coastline, whether that's coming from the troposphere, whether that's coming from standard flight patterns, is being tracked. So, and Donald, I'm not going to go into specifics as far as air bases. I will tell you that there are, that I'm not going to say anything. You can figure that out on your own. Go look at Bedminster and go look at parts of New Jersey and figure out where it's at. But I will, so that's number one. We're not going to allow, so now that we know foreign aircraft are not flying over internet or our airspace.
Right.
I understand the balloon. Don't get me a start on the balloon. Okay? That is weakness. But you are not going to allow a weapon into our airspace. And those drones are most assuredly have the capability to be used as a kamikaze device, to be used, they could have armaments. We know what they can do. So you're not going to do that. Tom, a Chinese fucking weather balloon is not an unmanned aircraft. Okay? They're two different things. I am not supporting Joe Biden and administration not shooting down that air balloon. They should have blown it up in the Pacific. But once it was over Canada and once it was over the United States, I'm not going to defend that. But a balloon that has no offensive capabilities, when satellites can do what they do, whatever you thought that could do from an electronic countermeasure standpoint or any type of counterintelligence, folks, they don't need that balloon to survey the United States. Do you understand that China has fucking satellites from space that are currently mapping out every square inch of our land mass? This is nothing new. You can go and watch video on this. Go ahead, Leeroy.
Real quick, because I want to put everyone's mind at ease on this, some of the stuff, especially the balloon thing. Why did they hang giant satellite-looking chunks of machinery under a weather balloon and then float the damn thing?
Yeah.
Why? Here's an answer. Because it was too expensive to launch into space. And this was one way to cut the cost of the program down while maybe getting some form of intel out of it, right?
Oh my
They
gosh.
didn't have all the money in the world to send up, 4 and 5 of these damn satellites. So they flung them under a balloon and said, let's just see what happens. And what makes it even more interesting is that apparently when Xi Jinping found out about it, he didn't know about the program until they were already shot down. Talk about a complete lack of communication and coordination at an international level for the leader of China. Didn't even know it.
You guys, I can't explain this to you in any other way because I remember my first year at Intel. And every time we got flash traffic or any time that something came across watch, I would shit my proverbial lace panties thinking that this was it, And after you get about, 1,300 of those, you kind of start to relax and realize that there's a chess game being played.
It's not the end of the world.
And there's a chess game being played. Collection and surveillance and counter surveillance is the game we've been playing with the rest of the world for a long time. A Chinese spy balloon, once it was recognized as not a threat, they allowed it to come over across the Canadian border and across the United States because it was deemed not a threat. And shooting it down would create more political issues than just letting it go across. And the reason why is all those bases, you guys, Google Earth can give them the exact same fucking information that they're looking for. I'm just letting you know. Google Earth is going to give them a much better look because it has terrain, it's topographical, it shows it shows altitude, it shows everything, it shows density of forest. Give me a break, guys. Okay? Hold on. I got to finish this thought. Hold on. I got to finish this thought. That means nothing. I'm just letting you know. The Chinese spy balloon It should have been shot down over the Pacific. They were hoping at some point that there was some sort of control to allow it to maneuver and change course, and that they would get a last ditch for China to move it outside of our airspace. That didn't happen. And then they had a choice to make. Shoot it down, make a big fucking deal about this, put it on the evening news as it gets blown up in the middle of the sky, or let it take its course. And then when the political pressure came, once it went off Maryland and went into the waters, they shot the fucking thing down. And honestly, if it wasn't political pressure from the U.S. and the news, they probably just would have let that thing go on its merry way and said, fuck you, who cares? Okay? Yes, Trump would have shot it down. That's fine. But Trump didn't shoot it down when he had 3 of them travel through the United States on his watch. So don't tell me Trump would have shot it down. Okay? Because this isn't the first time that those balloons have come across. It's the first time it's been noticed. Okay? So listen to what I'm saying. Okay? Trump would not have shot it down because he had some come across his administration and they were spied. They did catch, they did see. The general public did not pick them up and they let them go over their merry way. This type of intelligence collection is very common. Now, here's the next thing. Bear foxtrots and submarines and boomers off of our coastline is also been happening since 1950. Russians put up foxtrots. We go ahead and scramble a couple fighters. We go ahead and give them a little wave of our wings. They go ahead and dip their nose or dip their wings, and then they move on their merry way. This happens all the fucking time. SR-71s going over there, and high-altitude aircraft, reconnaissance aircraft, go ahead and will not go into our airspace. It's not the Cold War anymore. If a Bear Foxtrot decides to fly over Alaska, if a Bear Foxtrot decides to go ahead and fly over Seattle, we're going to shoot that motherfucker down. And I'm just letting you know. And the same thing holds true for Russia. We are not going to declare war. We take it up to the edge and we pull back. And this game we have been playing in the sea, in the air for a long time. The United States government is not going to go ahead and allow a foreign aircraft after 9/11 to come into our airspace and fly unmolested unless it's ours. And I will tell you why, because NORAD and SAC do not need presidential authorization to protect our airspace. That was changed after 9/11. They do not, they have 100% autonomous control to shoot down anything they deem a threat that enters our airspace. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let Leeroy say his thing, and any other questions, let me know.
I just
Melanie
want everyone
says,
to
Melanie goes, yeah, I don't believe that for 1 second. You're talking to 2 experts. You don't have to believe it. I don't care. It's not important to me if you believe it, Melanie. I'm just telling you the truth. Go ahead, Leeroy.
I will say that we have known about those balloons for years before anything like this ever happened. And I want everyone to kind of calm down on this, because there's two main points that need to be conveyed, right? And I'm going to make the argument here that them floating the balloon might have been a good thing. Hear me out.
We seem to miss something.
So when you're floating a balloon over an area, let's just say, and I want to address this specifically to, who said that? It was Thomas Griffiths, who said that, hey, it takes nothing to put a camera on one of these balloons. That's just a fact. You're absolutely right. It takes nothing. Now, what does that camera actually see? Because when those balloons were floating over even the most sensitive of United States territory, what do we think it was looking for? Missile silos? Guess what? All of the doors are closed. So to Matt's point, they got nothing. There is nothing in there that wasn't readily available already on Google Earth. Now, here's where I make the argument that this was probably not a terrible thing.
Think
about the intel.
Read that real quick.
The issue is that more people are looking up since 9/11.
Looking up. That's a great point. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just thought it was a very good point. Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it is a good point. for them to keep their assets in their own damn territory or wherever the hell they wanted the thing tethered over, right? And it floats over us, and we shoot it down and take it apart and dissect it. That was probably one of the greatest intel discoveries in the last 30 years worth of intel, all brought to us. We didn't even have to steal it. They literally floated it over us, and we said, hey, thanks for the gift. Now we know everything about where they made it, the electronics that were on board, how those were sourced, what the technologies are, what the satellite relay link looks like. We know more about their capabilities now than ever before. So I would make the argument that not only did China not get a damn thing out of these things, because everywhere where they were floating the thing, to Thomas's point, sure, there's cameras, but they didn't get anything that wasn't already available, right? So I would argue that this was the worst intelligence snafu that China has had in 30 years.
Now, Melanie, I didn't know you weren't talking to me. It seemed like you were. It says, okay, I understand you all know this, but you need to put yourselves in the mindset of non-military or just regular people who have no understanding of this, especially when our own government has fucked us. We just told you what it was.
That's why you got to have more of your friends tune into the show so we can break it down for you.
We just told you what it was. We're telling you that based upon what we do know, the reason why the government, do you really believe that the United States government isn't going to address this and let this go for 2 weeks? They are silent, which is the confirmation that it's them. That's how you know. You're being ghosted. Governors are flipping out. State legislatures. Hey, thanks, Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I'm not trying to be patronizing. What I'm telling you is just put all the pieces together. Listen, you can say you don't trust our government, but when it comes to military, you can't necessarily trust from an intelligence standpoint. But this country has done a pretty fucking good job with military hardware. And we are exceptional at keeping it completely secret. The SR-71, the U-2 spy plane, some of that shit was drafted up in the 50s. Before supersonic flight. So you got to understand, they're really
computer-aided design.
Right. They are really good at what they do. And our military industrial complex from a truth-telling position when it comes to intelligence, not that good. When it comes to, lying to the public, yeah, they do it all the time. But when it comes to our hardware, I trust our government. And if the government is flying drones over populated areas, it's a fairly simple reason as to why. Why do you think? Let's ask the question. Why would the United States government fly drones over populated areas that they're testing? Leeroy, do you have any theories?
I have a whole host of theories.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. The building where I work, personnel occasionally get called out of there to go work at another Nevada facility. And I always ask about, for my guys who have left to go do that job, because then they get bust in via an airplane with no tail numbers, if you get my meaning. Okay, so I always ask these guys, why? Why do they do this shit, And inevitably, I think that sometimes it's about, hey, if we fly at night over populated areas, is it a way to confirm the success or the failure of certain aircraft's either stealthy abilities or just maybe the ability to be noticed at all? But they do it at night so that you don't get, if you don't see it during the day, right, that you don't know necessarily what it looks like. You don't know what you're dealing with. But if they do it at night, then that introduces a whole slew of just, it's like the Steven Spielberg idea of filming Jaws where you don't see the damn shark,
Melanie, let me answer your question. And Leeroy's 100% right. Obviously, you test capabilities, but there's something more obvious here. Melanie wants to know, why would you stress people out? Okay. Do you understand that every single night I have a series of Black Hawk helicopters, about 7 of them that fly over in formation every night, and they are testing the exfil of Washington, D.C. for nuclear attack. Because I am literally, I could throw a rock at Mount Weather. I throw a rock at it. I am right on top of it. And so if nukes ever hit, goodbye us. But let me explain that they don't release that. They don't tell the general public what they're doing. But I know for a fact, same time, 8:30 every night, they're doing nuke tests and getting people into that mountain because underground Washington isn't their exfil point. Their exfil point is, it's not Air Force One, and it's not underground Washington. So they're going to fly them to bases that are secure. And this is a mini NORAD. Okay. Here's why you fly over populated areas. Now listen to me. One is for testing your equipment. He's right. You test the dB level of your engines in a city-based environment. You address line of sight and optics. You address how quickly it can handle, like I said, electromagnetics coming from cities, which is a massive, massive amount of electronic energy being dissipated into the atmosphere. What does that mean for its surveillance capabilities, its radio capabilities, its imagery, et cetera, et cetera? All these type of things, its targeting ability, all of these things you want to test, okay? Great, so we got that, check mark. You test, okay. But it's more than that. Leeroy, I told you in surveillance, the number one thing you focus on is what?
Stealth.
When you are now outside of stealth to run counterintelligence, what is the number one goal of counterintelligence? Is to do what to the enemy?
To do what to the enemy?
Yeah. They're trying to collect intel on you.
What, like
so the
full
point of
body routes?
the point of counterintelligence is to do what? To their
inject.
attempt.
I see. Okay, so you're injecting some level of false information,
or the information that you want them to know.
Exactly.
So when you go ahead and fly some drones, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, we're seeing 50 drones, hundreds of drones," they're getting information out on a national level because this is going to be talked about. And it's telling the enemy what we're doing without telling the enemy what we're doing. And now they know that we are ramping up our drone capabilities. And this is going to send a shockwave through the intelligence communities who are gathering. They're all going to be focused on these drones. The first thing that their counterintelligence and their intelligence gathering apparatus is going to do is trying to find out which country's doing it. That's number one. That's going to take up their resources. So guys like Leeroy and I are going to be fucking busy trying to figure out who is doing this. Once they find out that they're not, they're going to find out that what we've come to, that it's the United States. Once they find out that it's the United States, they're going to start trying to collect on why and how and what they're using. And because the United States is fairly unread on this type of stuff, you can go ahead and throw up as many as you want at night and fly them around, and you're not going to necessarily have a civilian population that's going to understand what it is and what it's not, and you're going to create not a panic. I know why people are nervous. When people started hearing sonic booms from the SR-71, they got nervous. When they started seeing rockets come from Point Mugu and Port Hueneme, where I left, and they were sending up Minuteman missiles from Port Hueneme and Point Mugu, it was a little nerve-wracking. They didn't tell us what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
But after about 2 or 3 years, we're like, oh, Point Mugu's testing a missile. And we realized it. The United States military is under no obligation to tell the American public anything about what it's testing, what it's developing, and what it's creating, and good. I want them guessing.
About what you're... Think about what everything that you just said, right? If you know that there are drones, aircraft, whatever, balloons, Chinese balloon, whatever the hell it is, if you know that they operate in and around your house, right? You see them all the time. Does it turn into a type of white noise? Think about the number, the explosion in drones amongst private citizens that can be sent up. DJI is one of the biggest manufacturers now on the planet, right? Which means that they're putting out millions and millions of drones. So everyone has them now.
Yes.
So if you see something in the sky, do you just automatically assume, oh, well, that's a military spy craft, or is it just another kid with a drone? It's at night, so I can't tell. When is a better time to fly your X-wings, high-end aircraft from the government's point of view?
And Leeroy's making a great point. That was my third point. There are a lot of rumors of singular drones and multiple drones in patches. Well, this is the same thing as the Honda Civic clubs that drive around in Los Angeles, and they all group up together and they go ahead and they drive real fast. And they have street racing. There are people who want to fuck with the government. Yes, there have been man-made drones that went over Langley, went over the FBI, went over Bragg. Yes, this is all true. Yes, governments have foreign nationals in our country that are collecting intelligence against. This is all accurate. 100%. This is true. I'm not denying any of that. Listen to what I just said. But this is not that. This is not a little DJI Mach 2 drone, okay? These are military-grade equipment that is being flown in our airspace. Not gonna happen. So let's go to this one, okay? Because this one has some credibility and has some strength. Evelyn says, loose lips sink ship is very true. I have no problem with military secrets. My problem is trust in those that control them. I understand that completely. But it's not the military who's done us dirty. It's the intelligence agencies that have done us dirty. I want to defend our military. Our military has a lot of it. Yeah, you're not. Shut up. Military has a lot of issues with its internal success and its overall operational readiness that needs addressing. But the military isn't really the group that has been the bad guy in this. The intelligence apparatus is. So I'm going to defend our military. I'm sorry. Fuck Miley. Fuck the woke culture. But we have the best military in the world, and they take orders. The military doesn't act independently. So if you think they do, they don't. Okay? It's not the military that's doing this. It's the government telling the military to do this. And if they've been told to keep a lid on it, you're fucking A right. They're not going to tell anyone because they're facing a court martial if they do. Okay? It's called treason. You don't do that. You signed a clearance. You shut up. You do your jobs. Mission parameters, you keep the secret. Now, here is what I'm going to show you. Okay? Here it is.
And I'm very concerned that we're missing something here. I've raised the issue, as has my colleagues, Maliotakis and others in New Jersey and New York, about these drone sightings. So last night I was on the beach in Island State Park in Ocean County with the sheriff. He has been working it every single night. He's got his own tethered drones chronicling. One of his officers 2 nights ago saw 50 drones come in off the ocean right there. So we thought maybe they'll replicate it. They didn't, but we thought it was a possibility. Last night, we had a number of other people there, including a commanding officer from the Coast Guard, who said that one of their 47-foot motor lifeboats was followed by between 12 and 30 of these drones as they went through the water, followed right behind them. And I said, what's the rules of engagement? I mean, you do it if you're fighting against a narco traffic.
The same thing if you see a Cessna.
Right.
The same fucking thing.
Shoot it down. By all means, go ahead and go red.
There's a flock of birds. Kill them. Kill them all.
He's coming right for us.
Open the 50 cal. Open the 50 cal on the fucking, South-laden swallows from Africa and San Capistrano. Yes, get them.
Or something, and they said, we don't know, we don't have any. So I did reach out to the commanding officer at the Joint Base, which is also in my district, and talked to him. Had a very good conversation. Colonel Anthony Smith, Joint Base Fort Dix McGuire, the 87th Air Wing, Air Base Wing today. And I said, I know you have the capability, you've put out press releases, to identify and bring down drones. Why can't you deploy them at least to the ocean? Bring one of these down, find out who's doing it. They have the capability. He said, well, we don't have the authority.
It's gonna be a serial number on it, dude. And it's gonna be painted like Pokemon and shit when they blow it up. And some kid's gonna be sitting on the shore going,
Yeah.
Do people understand that some of these drones have 10-mile ranges and shit, and that you can throw them out to sea and you can do all sorts of stuff with them? I mean, you guys got to understand these are available. Listen, do you notice that none of them are in DC? Okay, there's your answer. Go ahead, buddy.
I could see some poor 18-year-old who's going to like, oh my God, they're shooting at my drone, right? Thing gets knocked down. This is literally the equivalent of every movie that you've ever seen where some random guy, right, is unsure of what he's looking at in the dark and he just starts firing wildly, right? That's what this guy is basically describing. Why can't we just start taking these things down? Dude, you don't know who it is.
That's
you don't
right.
just start bringing down random aircraft just because you don't know who it is.
And you don't need 30 drones to surveil one cutter, okay? I'm sorry. You don't. You need one. Right. This is ridiculous. And I guarantee you it's some dipshit fucking drone flying club that are just screwing around with the government, and they're going to get clacked on, and they're going to have the FBI at their door, and they're all going to shit their panties, and the story will leak.
Yes.
Now, that's that. But this other, you're not going to hear anything until the government's ready to tell you. And what you will hear is that you will have one of the Joint Chiefs come out, or one of the high-end colonels for SAC-MORAD or one of these bases give you a briefing that basically says the United States is testing our drone capabilities and ramping up our defensive capabilities and our multi-unmanned units. If you get anything at all, chances are you're getting nothing. And you like it. Syria, an opportunity to export democracy, or is it best we wash our hands? We wash our hands, John. John, let the government form itself. If you try to insert democracy, it'll be our 27th failed time of instituting a democratic republic in a country that we have had regime change in. Let this settle. You gotta get these terrorists out. They will form their own government. Let them find it themselves. That's my thought process.
Yep.
Kill the terrorists, destroy them as often as we can, fill the role that Assad did without being an absolute tyrant to his people. That's what you do. Matt, Leeroy, what would be the repercussions for flying a private over a military installation or high security area? Jail?
They're going to arrest you.
If they find out it's you,
boy,
you can get in trouble if it's your first offense, but it depends what you're flying it over. Now, we know that there have been multiple drones flying over. You got to understand, some of these drones are extremely fast, okay? And a lot of people who are flying drones, they fly in and fly out, and they don't even know until they check the radar signature profile or they get some sort of alert. But what happens is most of them don't even get the alert because they're so small, but they go ahead and check the data it spits out 3 days later, or 3-6, or in the case of Donald Trump, 3 years after those weather balloons went over, they had the data in 2021. So it was under Biden's administration that they found out about those drones, but it happened in 2017 and 18 respectively. So that's that. Yeah, we need to listen. Do we get our troops out of Syria? No, not yet, because I think they have a viable reason for being there. But if you start seeing that these forces start attacking U.S. installations, here's my thought. Follow the Russians. The Russians just took all naval vessels outside of major ports in Damascus and all over Syria. So they took out vehicles from Damascus. They took out naval vessels from what's the port? I don't remember what the port is, but they have essentially left in Syria. There's a naval port there. I don't remember what it's called. I know. I'm drawing a blank. It's been a while. TARDIS. So TARDIS has been used since the Cold War, and the Russian vessels have left. So Russia obviously is snooping out, and at that point, I would watch this very, very closely and make a decision. But Russia can't lose any more infrastructure. Russia's losing their ass already. This guy, this was a Homeland Security briefing. And I will tell you this, that the people in Homeland Security are already aware of this, and they've moved on. One of our vessels was being tracked by drones. They already have the answer. I'm just telling you. Here is another video of drone. I just want to put this drone thing to bed because it's important. People are scared. I don't want people to be scared. Melanie, when you say your mom's scared. Yeah, Melanie, when you say your mom's scared, I'm not making a joke of that. It's sad. I don't want to see that. But trust me when I say this, we are in a war stature right now. And I don't know what our operational readiness level is. And Leeroy ain't going to tell us. And I don't care. I don't want to know. But I promise you that we are preparing and defending and developing for war. And I think everyone just needs to embrace that fact, because I would rather be preparing than caught with our pants down around our ankles. Here is another
Absolutely.
killer unidentified drone tonight on Discovery.
Steady tone.
Yeah. It's not here yet.
Jet.
Its profile hasn't arrived. It will in a second. Here it is. I just turned on. You'll hear it in a second. I don't even know if you hear it on this one. You just start to hear it right here. Right there. You hear it kick in? It just started. You heard the profile right here. Subtle. And then right there at the end. Here is that's the chopper.
Well, it's a jet, not a drone.
Right. Here, this will really help. Watch this. So, had a chance to zoom in on a couple of these images.
We shouldn't be outside for this.
That's a really great example of the Doppler effect you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be outside for this.
Why?
So, here are your images. Enhanced. So it's got, now some of these lights, and the reason why is the exposure on the camera is creating these laser looks that makes it look like a fucking Close Encounter of the Third Kind. So that's kind of an optical illusion. Okay. Tina Savage says, oh, here goes Hannity talking about the drones. Nobody knows what they are, he says. Call in and tell him, Matt. No, he can call me. He'll steal it in his radio. He'll steal it.
You know, I've tried to call that show earlier. I've tried to call them, and they never allowed my call to go through. And I got as far as talking to Linda, who said that she was going to call me back at one point, never did.
Mm-hmm.
Here is a couple of experts in all things military. It's not like we're banning him. All he's got to do is pick up the phone.
Well, like I said, it'll be on his radio show. So, center light under the undercarriage. People say that the aircraft do not have a center light under its undercarriage. That is inherently incorrect. AV-8Bs have it. Harriers have it. A lot of civilian aircraft do have it. Military aircraft have it. It's depending upon the situation. And it's depending upon their landing profile. And if it is an Osprey, it can essentially, at a very low degree or almost vertical landing, you will have lights underneath. Same thing with helicopters. So to sit here and say that there's no such thing as running lights in the center of an aircraft, just because you don't see it on civilian aircraft, doesn't mean it's true. Okay. What do you think this is based off the picture to the left?
Hold on a second. I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So the engines are a little too far inboard for it to be like a standard airliner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that's a little different, but the tail,
because it looks like the if you look right here, You've got
Yeah.
what looks to be some sort of jet propulsion right here, but
Right.
it looks like a civilian
But
aircraft to me. It almost looks like a Streamliner or something. Maybe a
It
737.
does. It does. But here's the thing: I've never seen the engines that far inboard on a standard civilian type aircraft. Most of the civilian stuff that I tend to think of, right? I'm thinking Citations or Lear jets, that kind of thing. This, especially with those shoulders being as big as they are, meaning the intakes. See, even that, I don't know.
It's a 737, dude. That's a 737. That plane right there is a 737.
I was going to say
100%.
that tail's almost a giveaway.
Well, yeah, it's not just the tail, but you also understand the profile and refraction at night is darkness is going to envelope around and make those wing swept look smaller. And it's a 737. It's not a drone.
Yeah.
People need to just stop. I just pulled that out of my ass, and I'm like, wonder what it could be. How about a 737? Because I started thinking about any type that are very close to the fuselage of the overall jets, and 737 comes to mind.
That's exactly it. The further you get towards the center, I would think more military type application. But in this case, I think you're absolutely right.
It's not a drone. 737.
The lack of resolution, or just the fact that the 737 does have it closer to the inboard, but not as close as I would think, makes me think, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and understand you get refraction from this red light and also refraction from the darkness, right? So light can only envelop so far, so it's going to slim its profile. The best way I can describe it is if you go ahead and you focus on your hand and you look past your hand. Put your hand up close to your face. Here, you can see your hand. Now don't look at your hand, look past your hand. And if you look, the light bends. The closer it gets to your eyes, less around your hand, and the profile slims. It's the same aspect here. So this is just an airliner. People are flipping out. They don't know what this stuff is, and it looks weird. It looks different. And they go, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. But now they're looking to convince themselves. I'm not saying that there's not UFOs, unidentified flying objects, and possibly drones that are doing this. I'm not saying that. But let me show you this.
People have to be very careful to not see what they want to see, rather than just examining the evidence, and just apply a little bit of caution when you're making those judgments like that.
Now, there you go. See? Looks like a drone or looks like some sort of foreign aircraft. And guess what? You're probably right. But listen.
It's a drone. That is a drone.
No, it's not.
The heck?
Not with an engine that large, folks. Not something that's pushing 4,000 feet, 3,000 feet coming in on approach. It's a fucking plane landing. It's like these people, it's the first time at an airport.
Yeah.
I mean, just everyone chill. Just chill. It's a fucking
the Wright brothers
730.
have been around for a couple hundred years.
I'm not trying to laugh at you. You have a right to be worried, but not. No, I'm not saying he's laughing at you. We're both laughing. But this is like, guys, this is entry level stuff. Like if I was teaching in A school, this is the type of stuff I would put in the first 2 weeks. Like the first 2 weeks, I would. Yeah, I know that. That's why, dude. I'm trying
WEFT.
to be good.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember WEFT? Wings,
I don't remember its
engine,
acronym. Engine, fuselage, and tail. Yeah. WEFT. Yeah. So yeah, I did. Until you said it. Now here, watch this. God, these fucking people. I can already tell what that is. You can already. I'm not even watch it. Just listen. See if you can guess it. I didn't even look, and I already know what it is. Listen.
Helicopter.
Come on.
That's
yeah, but what type? What type? No. Listen. No. Okay. Very same profile. Now hold on. I'm going to help you. Very same profile as a Huey, but listen to the timing of it, and listen to the secondary break. Okay, listen closely. Listen to the ripple. That'll tell you it's not a Huey, but it sounds just like a Huey. Listen. No, not an osprey. Because listen, it's downward.
Oh, Chinook.
It's a Chinook. That's right, my fucking man. See, dude? That's that's why we do this. God, I love this fucking show. It's a Chinook. It's downward. You can hear it.
Okay, yep.
It's a Chinook, boys and girls. It's a Chinook. These aren't drones, guys. These are fucking helicopters. People are saying these are drones. They're not drones.
That's a fucking monster, too, by the way.
That thing's a beast. That thing displaces so much fucking air, and you can hear it. And you can hear it loud because it's downward projecting. So it's extremely loud.
Artillery under that bitch.
Yeah, those Chinooks, man, you feel a Chinook. You feel a Huey, too. So I want everyone just to relax, okay? I just want you to relax. Here you go. There you go.
Oh,
Better
yeah.
look at it. There you go. Better look at it.
Well, you can see the engines in the back there. That looks more like
Right.
what I was thinking in terms of like a Citation or one of those.
Yeah, I still think it's commercial. I just don't know what type of commercial it is.
Yeah.
Here's someone that already figured it out for us. No, that's not the same thing. Look at that. It's all along the wings. That's a lot bigger plane. It looks like a Citation. And honestly, if I broke it down, I could probably figure it out for you. But
yeah,
here are all the sightings. And I can tell you right now, with everything in my heart, these sightings are para-fucking-noia. Okay?
1000%.
This is paranoia. When it literally looks like an outbreak of COVID, this is paranoia.
You know what this is? This is too many people looking up with too many fucking iPhones.
Yeah.
There was probably 1/1,000,000th of the number of reported sightings until these damn things came along.
Yeah.
You know?
And listen to me. I want to be really clear. God love you, people. I love you. I love you. And we're not laughing at you. We're laughing near you. Okay? Everyone, but see, the news media isn't going to tell you this because it doesn't sell commercials. Folks,
They need to stoke that fear.
If you don't donate to this show needs to continue. If just because you get the truth, and if we don't know something, we're going to tell you. We're going to be like, you know what? I just don't know. Like the Coast Guard reporting 30 drones. We're like, you know what? This is probably what it is, but we're not 100% sure. But this, you got to calm down. Okay? Got to relax. What type of plane does UPS fly? A DC something or other. DC. They fly a shit ton of different 727, 737, DC-10s. What don't they fly? So what we're saying is just relax and trust but verify, right? And here's the thing. We may find out that maybe, and listen to the words coming out of my mouth. I guarantee you there are foreign nationals who are flying drones over sensitive areas inside the United States to find out our response and to gain any type of intel that they deem that they want. Yes, it's happening.
Sure.
But there's not much they can't do with a satellite. And the satellites are above us geosynchronous at all times to all of our major nuclear areas. Their birds are synced with our Minutemens and sync with our Tridents and sync with all of our Wyoming nuclear armaments. And the reason why is because that's their early warning system. Not only do they depend upon radar, but their satellites are geosynchronously targeted. So when they get a bloom, they have an early warning that a nuke's gone off. They have all this info. They've been collecting it for years. This is not anything new. This is spy game shit. Go ahead, Leeroy.
I would also say that if you were to draw the comparison between, some Iranian actor or some Syrian spy who's planted themselves here in the United States, if that person is operating a drone, guess what kind it's going to be? The same kind your 18-year-old uses. The exact same kind. So you're not going to be able to tell the difference between, oh my God, is that a foreign player who's trying to collect intel in my neighborhood?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
But you're not going to be able to tell.
So here's the thing. A lot of people are asking a question. Matt, why? Thank you, Mike Lynch. Hey, if anyone else has a chance, we always like to overdraft or over hit our goal. A lot of people are asking, Matt, why is a military aircraft louder than a civilian aircraft? Well, you answered it yourself. But here's a couple things. Why is a Lamborghini's engine louder than a Volkswagen, even though it's an engine? Because it's a Lamborghini. Military engines have the capabilities for afterburner. They are high performance. And military aircraft don't really care about suppression of noise unless they're stealth. Civilian aircraft fly over residential airport areas. They're at airports, and they stream down and care about noise suppression. That is why civilian aircraft isn't as loud. Secondly, a lot of civilian aircraft fly at altitude, and military aircraft don't necessarily fly at altitude depending upon their mission. They will fly at a few thousand feet, where civilian aircraft won't do that unless they're coming at an airport. And materials and shape and purpose of overall aircraft are why. That's really it. It's just a high performance engine, just like a Lamborghini is a high performance engine. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, and there's also another part to that, right? Is that if you live in or within the vicinity of an airport, right? You have neighbors, and all of those neighbors have collectively gone to the airport to say, we protest this because we know how much noise is going to come from this. And so a lot of the commercial airliners, they take active measures to quiet down. So like those little, I forget what the hell they call them. They look like little canards at the end of the wings. That's actually an item that's used to minimize the turbulence, right, for when larger aircraft come in. All that to say, commercial airliners want to be very quiet. The military don't give a shit.
They don't care.
They're just going to show up in the front lawn. They don't care.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, we answered your question. We're going to shift a couple of other things, and I know we're running a little late, but it's Leeroy, can I tell you this is the best idea we've ever had doing you had Tuesdays and Thursdays, because it gives us a chance to dive into things that the ladies don't want to dive into. So it's gonna, and I mean Mike too. So it's definitely gonna balance our show out a lot more. Sorry, Mike. Leeroy, just a quick 5-minute topic is the United States is on the precipice of blowing up, and it's not just conspiracy theories, and it's not just fear and lack of trust in our government. I think that Americans are fed up with corporate greed. And we saw this with the CEO shooting. That's number one. We saw this. Mike Lynch says asshole. So we saw this with the CEO shooting. And now here is a video of a gentleman who just said, fuck it. And he's at a car. Is there anything worse than a car dealership? I mean, I can't stand those people. And they're going to take you. They're going to take you on the interest. They're going to take you on the trade-in, or they're going to take you on the sticker price. You're going to get fucked over in one of those categories. So you go to it in order to get a colon cleanse. You know it's coming. This guy bought a vehicle, was very unhappy with the service, with the quality of the vehicle, the performance of the vehicle, and everything. And he decided to no, I waited for your payment before I made fun of you. You see how I did that? That's called great situational awareness, Mike. Here is the result of this gentleman.
Doesn't look like a drive-through.
Yeah, he told them, if you don't take I want this vehicle taken back. I'm not going to take it. I'm done. I want the contract null and void, which they have more than the capability of doing over a certain. You have a buyer's remorse clause in most states when it comes to vehicle purchases, right? He said, take it back. And they said, no. And he said, if you don't take it back, I'm going to drive this mother effer right through your gallery. They didn't believe that he would. Well, he did.
I told you, motherfuckers. Whoa, shit. Call the cops. Shit, I wasn't, I told you, motherfuckers.
Now, homeboy's going to spend some time in prison, and it's going to cost him a pretty penny. I mean, that's probably a $10,000-$15,000 mistake.
Oh my God, yeah. Somebody sell that dealership on iRoomba, right? Yeah.
Plus, he still owns the vehicle, right? Now you really own the vehicle. Like that's your puppy. Doesn't matter, because anything that you had a claim against is now ruined because you drove it through a fucking dealership. It's yours. Plus you owe the dealership money and you owe the government some time in jail.
And I guarantee the insurance company is going to look at that and go, we're not covering that, homie.
No, we're not. And although I completely love the guy, like I'm down. Like we need to GoFundMe for this guy's stat. Americans are kind of done. And this is what happens when you don't have anything to fight for anymore. It's what happens when you don't have a cause. That's what happens when you despise your fellow Americans. And these companies treat us like shit, and we're done with it. I had FedEx try to deliver a credit card request that they were sending me to collections, which is interesting, because I've been sent to collections I don't know how long. And FedEx tried to deliver it to me. I said, "Where's it from?" And they said, "We don't know, but we need your signature and an ID." And I said, "Give me the address." They gave it to me. I looked it up, and it was an old bank that I had during COVID.
Oh.
And they're sending me collections for like $92.37 some odd cents. But I'm like, I'm not accepting that. And the guy's like, "You have to." And I said, "The fuck I do? Get off my property, FedEx guy. What are you fucking going to do? You know, yeah, I'm going to bounce you off my fucking property and then drive your truck down my gully." And realize that this isn't this guy's fault. And I said, "Hold on a second. I apologize. I didn't tell him I was going to drive his truck down the gully, but I just said, get the fuck off my property." And I said, "Listen, hold on. You're just trying to do your job. I need you to get your supervisor on the phone and tell them that I cannot deny this letter. And I'll wait, and let's get on the phone together." And I apologize. "You want some cup of coffee?" And he's just like, "Oh, no, man, no. It's just like my first week." And I said, "Okay, well, let me explain something. You don't have to do this, but this isn't a summons. This is a declaration of sending me to collections, and they need my signature, and they can't send me to collections, so I'm not going to fucking sign anything. They're going to have to call me on the phone and talk to me like a human fucking being, which they have not done." And supervisor came out, and he's like, "Mr. Spear, we apologize." And I said, "No, your guy's fine. He did a great job." But my point is, my first reaction is like, "Fuck you, pal." And I can understand where this guy is coming from. And when people don't have any fucks to give anymore,
right?
We created this with COVID. We put people in this. They lost their people skills. They lost their patience. They're sick of getting bent over the table. And this is why people believe in the drone thing. It's because who do we trust? We've been lied to. I get everybody's fear. How do we get past this, dude? Seriously.
I don't know how, and I'll tell you why. I have heard for the last several years that it's all of these evil corporations that are to blame for the rise in not only certain goods that we all use, but also the general inflation. And I just have a question. If the price of gas goes up, or if inflation makes everything go up, right? Your company, your job is to make money for your shareholders. So, you're the company that makes swing line staplers. Now, all of a sudden, right, the oil that goes into making the stapler, the transportation costs, which are now at record highs, you have an entire staff of people that work for you that assemble this damn thing. They all want more money. Rent has gone up, right? So now you're dealing with record high transportation costs, record high employment costs, record high costs of doing business overall. When you multiply A times B times C, you're going to get the profit.
Right.
Right? What makes you think that in all of those things are record highs, why wouldn't your profit also be at a record high?
Right. And we've said this 100 times. You raise taxes, they pass it on to the consumer. You do tariffs, they're going to pass it on to the consumer. You have energy hikes, they're going to pass it on to the consumer. Only one of those things actually creates more American business, which is tariffs. I know Leeroy doesn't like tariffs. I don't like tariffs, but you can use them very strategically. Right. That's the point I'm trying to make. You're going to pay a little more, but American businesses will come back once you drive the price up on these foreign companies. It's going to take an investment. That's why we need tax breaks. Okay. The thing about Trump is that he's going to rob Peter to pay Paul. Most presidents, if you look at overall taxes versus deficit to a surplus, you will find that overall, across the timeline, it pretty much stays at 0. You give a text cut here, you increase here. This is the way it works. But I will just tell you this. If you are upset, there is a guy that was shooting drones in Florida. They arrested him. That's another thing that shows you it's our government. First of all, you can't discharge a weapon at an aircraft anywhere. It's not legal. You can't.
Generally speaking, that's bad.
And it's only 30 feet and above. Like if it's a drone and it's 30 feet and below, you can shoot that fucker out of the sky on your property. But if it's 30 feet and above, that's the FAA. And you're not allowed to do that. So don't shoot at these things because you're going to fucking hit a civilian aircraft or a military aircraft, and then you're going to go to fucking Leavenworth, okay? Trust me when I say this, don't fire your weapons. Now, this guy I got 2 videos, and then we're going to bail. This is fantastically funny. This guy gets arrested. Oh, this is so good. Listen, I got to give this guy props and see if you can hear him. He was in, I'm pretty sure it's probably a Broward County. I mean, I don't know, but he gets arrested for shooting. It's Florida. It's Florida. And he shoots at a drone, and listen to what he says. This is so fucking good. Even on private property, 30 feet and above. You own 30 feet and above. If your house is taller than 30 feet, obviously, I think there's some sort of buffer in there, like 10 feet above your property. The rest is FAA owned. That's just the way it works. But here you go. Here you go. You ready? Okay. Listen.
I'm ready.
Well, no, we have.
We've been fine. There's no issues. We're not,
Yeah.
Just let me know if it's too tight, all right? I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
I got to give the guy props. You know what? Those cops are. If you get cuffed in the front, you're all right. Those cops are going to take care of you. They're just doing it for reasons. But this is probably one of the most disturbing things. And trying to link all our videos together. This is Luigiano, or whatever his name is. This is the guy. This is the gentleman who shot the CEO. And
again,
allegedly,
that hatred for CEOs right now.
So stupid. That's a whole nother show. But I want you to listen to this. First of all, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cops, right? You've got the media. Watch what he says and watch his reaction. This is really. I want you to tell me what you think on this, Leeroy.
Down.
Oh my God! That's completely out of touch, and it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and lived experience.
So, to give you what he said, come back.
Down.
Oh my God! That's completely out of touch, and it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people.
That's completely out of touch.
Right.
And
it's an insult to the
intelligence of the American people. So some reporter said something, and it set him off. And I'm not sure what was said. It is completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people. Now, Luigi Maggioni, I think is his name. A lot of people are saying that this... What?
I said, man, that's like a classic movie. Luigi,
Oh my God, dude. It's one step from me eating manigot on the Stugats. You know what I mean? So a lot of people are saying this is essentially a Lee Harvey Oswald, I'm a patsy moment. Okay, people, let me just say, we got to talk. Leeroy, you talk first, and then I'll talk.
I am always one of these guys who, when I see an event like that, when I see that that they've apprehended so and so, and that it was an open and shut case, and I am as hopeful as the next guy that maybe the media got it right. I'm sure as hell hoping that this wasn't a fall guy, right? Another another Lee Harvey Oswald type scenario where this guy is just he was set up by the government and so that we could get our one guy, because it's always easier to swallow a conspiracy theory case if we know that it all comes down to just one guy. I think in this case it might be, but I'm always
innocent
also
until proven guilty.
always he's innocent until proven guilty, and
That's
I'm
right.
always open to more intake of more information. Tell me
Correct.
more about the guy. Was he really there? If his credit card shows him in Portland, Oregon, well then he's, I want to know more about it, right? And
Yeah.
I will collect all of those facts, then form my decision. I don't typically make snap judgments.
These people were saying he's dumb. This guy's not dumb. He made stupid mistakes if he did it. I mean, there's no doubt he made dumb mistakes, but he's not dumb. I guarantee a reporter said something when he came out of the car that we didn't pick up with a mic because they're running directional mics. And they were aiming it at the truck, and a reporter said something like, I don't know what he said. I don't care.
Right.
And it set the guy off. I mean, the guy just shot a CEO because he read too much Ted Kaczynski and anti-insurance books. This guy has read a lot of different stuff. And I wouldn't necessarily consider this guy to be a revolutionary, but they're saying he's an anti-capitalist Republican. First of all, that is completely an oxymoron. That makes no fucking sense, what you just said. So calling anyone an anti-capitalist Republican is like saying a NAACP Klan member. It doesn't make sense. The guy is from a rich family. He is intelligent. He was a valedictorian. He has an MA and a BA. He is computer literate. I think you're going to find out that how he got this CEO's information and his whereabouts is because he's a hacker. And he hacked his information. That's how. Or the family gave it to him and it's a hit. I don't think it's a hit. Now, the interesting thing is when they found the $2,000 cash on him, he denied that he had that money. And the Faraday bag that he had, which essentially is does not allow electronic data or its signals to escape the bag, a Faraday bag, is he said that it was a waterproof bag. No, dude. Faraday bags are expensive. They are not cheap, and you do not go ahead and pay that much money not knowing what they're for. You're going to find out that this guy did some smart things, and he did some very stupid things. I told you that they would have him in 72 hours. They had him in 72. That's why they released the picture. They just couldn't find him in 72. In the end, the thing I will say is the FBI, CIA, Department of Homeland Security, all the U.S. Marshals, the local city and state police force. In the end, it was a fry cook and a rookie sheriff that got him. So once again, where's the J6 bomber? That's what I want to know. I really do. Leeroy, anything last on this?
No, again, is this just one of those cases where I think this kid hopefully gets a fair trial. If he did in fact do it, it won't shock me, for one. There's plenty of people, plenty of Americans who have an absolute hatred towards CEOs, companies, people of an attained wealth or status. And I think this is probably more common, right, at this point in time than maybe at any other point in history, at least from the United States' perspective.
Yeah, your jealousy
is a dangerous thing.
Me too. Yeah, listen, you don't have to like CEOs. I get it.
No, you don't. No, but we do need them, right? And ultimately, they are the rudder of a very big ship that basically steers a company either towards profit or absolute bankruptcy. And so if their job is to turn a profit, well, guess what? They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I don't see that as a bad thing. And I'm not jealous at the fact that somebody probably made enough money to go buy one of those tickets to go up on Musk's, trip to the Mars. I don't care.
And it looks very convenient, right? I understand everybody. But this guy left a plethora, an orgy of evidence. But having his ghost printed gun on him with a fucking... a letter of declaration manifesto, and come on, this is just a kid.
To me.
Yeah, this is a kid who thought that he was really, really smart, and really did some dumb things. And he is smart. In the end, let's let it play out. Daniel Penny was released, which is great, and clear of all charges. That's what we were talking about. The last thing, and I do have to do this one, then we're really done. I'm sorry for the overtime, but you've been great. I love you. And I know you're tired and you work your ass off for this country, so I apologize. Tulsi Gabbard, you guys know I've been hard on her, but she had dinner with what? With Assad, right?
You said hard on her, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. But she had dinner with Assad, and back in like 2000 and whatever, and they were absolutely, saying it disqualifies her. She went and she didn't have dinner. She visited with him, and that she's a Syrian, supporter and a Russian supporter, and she's yeah, it's not what it means at all. So I just wanted to show you John Kerry. You know what John Kerry's position is in our country, right? Secretary of State, right? Yeah, Secretary of State. Yeah. So if
adjusting transmitter output.
Shit.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts Matt, Leeroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
All right, so just in lieu of this, I want everyone to go ahead and take a moment as they produce the Secretary of State ceremonial photograph for John Kerry, who sat down and had dinner with Assad and his wife on multiple occasions. So if we're not going to confirm Tulsi Gabbard because she is a communist, pinko, socialist, maybe we should go ahead and do the same for the actual commie, pinko, socialist in John Kerry. I'm not going to defend Tulsi Gabbard for her politics, but I am going to defend her on this. This is a hit job. She is more than qualified. She has the capabilities. So does Pete Hegseth. And I am sick and tired. Confirm Trump's picks. Shut the fuck up. You lost. We won. Nana nana boo boo. Stick your head in doo doo. That is my 1 minute. Leeroy, finish up. It's yours and we're done.
Oh, I would absolutely agree with everything you just said. The fact that they're going after all of Trump's picks the way they are just tells you that most of the people who are opposing all of these picks are, in fact, very establishment people. So they're trying to protect the mechanisms that exist within government so that they can keep whatever cash flow they got. They can keep it rolling on in. So when they tell you to your face, I'm a progressive, I want change, they are lying. The people that actually want change are the people that are trying to get approved right now through Trump, right? Those are the people that Trump put in place. Those are the people that are going to make change.
There's John Kerry. There's your photograph sitting with his wife at a black tie dinner. There's multiples. So before you do this with Kerry and pretend that he deserves some sort of accolades for being one of the worst Secretary of States we've ever had, where the entire fucking planet is at war, maybe we can go ahead and give Tulsi Gabbard a break for wanting to try to go ahead and build relationships with countries where our relationships aren't the best. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Leeroy, what did you think of our new format? I mean, do you like the audio? Audio is amazing. This. Yeah, it's simple.
The audio is much easier to convey back and forth between us. That has been fantastic. And I like the topics for tonight, too. I think you're right. I think that when it's Olivia and Amy on, we need to be a little more sensitive to the fact that, all right, we can run away on topics like, military hardware or spy, spycraft. We save that for Tuesdays and Thursdays because when they're on the show, it needs to be something that they can contribute to as well.
Yeah, and I think, and it's not sexism. It's that we have an inside baseball, inside baseball that they can't possibly possess, and so I agree with you. I think it's great. I think when we get Mike on, that's when Mike would be great because her real estate, his financial background, his also investment into, design for the gas stations, but can talk a little bit about the ebbs and flow of fuel and economy and business, and we can all add a little bit to the equation. And he understands military stuff too fairly well. He guesses decently on his stuff. So he'll learn more as he learns from the Jedi Masters. Folks, thanks for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show. If you have not had a chance, go to thedumshow.com/donate. Please do me a favor and help out the show. But also you can go and pick up some shirts, some hats, some cool stuff. Also, Leeroy, I need you to go over and pick out your size of your jacket for Christmas. I'm buying you a Don't Unfriend Me jacket as a Christmas gift to say thank you. So please just give me the size you want. Yeah, and I got to find out if Amy got hers too.
Okay.
Let's go from there. Hey, go over to thewimkin.com, folks. It is Free Speech Network, 9 million people. It's social media. It's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. The last thing you need is another social media. So instead of that, why don't you go to a free speech network? Very different than any other social media at wimkin.com. Sign up. We are not just members, or not just co-plank owners on Wimkin. We are also clients, as we have accounts over there. Please stop by and say hello. Leeroy, I love you, brother. Thank you. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock Wednesday. It'll be Olivia, myself, and Amy. And we will see you then. God bless. Good night, and we'll see you. Thanks, everybody.
Peace out, homies. Love you guys.
See you, Bubba. Later.